Today I want to do a follow-up kind of update video about these Tonahutu brand water stones. These are just kind of generic type, what I call Amazon water stones. They are soaking stones. The reason I'm doing this update video is because I've been using these for quite a while now, and I've had a question come up. I have one viewer who said he has this same set, and his instruction manual said specifically not to soak this 3,000, 8,000 grit stone. So I wanted to talk about that. And I also want to talk specifically about this large piece of green crayon wax type compound. I have been using this, and so I wanted to update on that. So I will also take this opportunity just to talk about the set in general and how it's been doing for me and what my basic thoughts are. So just real quickly, I'll take this opportunity to say I don't use these strops. This is not the one that came with the set. I already threw that one away. I really don't use these. I don't keep them very often. I happen to have this one from a different set. I don't think these work. I would get a real strop. I will talk about that again in a minute. I don't really use these dressing stones. This is not a flattening stone. It's more of a dressing stone. I did use this once and it did work, but this is just not part of my normal water stone use. But if you want to use it, it will work for dressing or cleaning your stone or creating a slurry. If you want to start your sharpening with a slurry, this will work for that. Flattening stone I use all the time. It works great. I have no complaint about it. It actually works very, very well. It certainly will keep these stones flat, and I've also used it to flatten many other stones from King, Nanawa, Shapton, Suhiro. It'll flatten basically any kind of water stone that you need. But if your water stones are very hard, it'll wear this out quite quickly, but this will work, and is one of the reasons I like this set, because the set's somewhat economical and it comes with some pretty good equipment. When I first saw this set, it was $20. I bought it because I thought that was a great deal, especially since it came with a real full-size large flattening stone. Just to cut to the chase, I still recommend this set. If you can find it for $25 or less, I still recommend it. So the issue that came to my attention was after I posted my video, a viewer reached out to me in the comments and said he had purchased the same set, and his instructions said specifically, do not soak the 3,000, 8,000 grit stone. It will fall apart, it will break apart. I don't know what the recommendation is for you to use if you're not supposed to soak this thing. I don't know how you're supposed to use it because it is a soaking stone, and I think just spritzing it with water would not work very well. But at the time I got that comment, I couldn't find my instructions, but I pulled up my Amazon purchase and reviewed the instructions on that, and it said, again, it just said soak the stones for 15 or so minutes. Didn't say anything about not soaking the stone in particular. I have since found my instructions for this set, and I reviewed this packet and I read every word on it, and there's not a single thing on this packet that says not to soak the stones. In fact, says to soak them for 10 to 15 minutes. I reached out to the company. This packet has apparently these things are warranted for 12 months, and there is contact information in here. So I reached out to the company and asked them the question specifically about whether or not there was something going on with these stones that would make it so this is not soakable. The person who replied to me said they had no way to know if the person that said they had the problem, they had no way to know that that person really purchased this brand of stone. I said, fair enough. She said, there's no issues or problems with these stones. All of the stones are good to soak, and all of the stones do require soaking. So that's the updated information I have about that. For what it's worth, I used this stone for a long time, and I kept it soaked in water for many days without any problem, but this is not the stone that the viewer had the issue with. After the viewer reached out to me, I placed this stone in water and I left it in there for 10 days to 2 weeks, solid, and it has had no problem. So the stone's doing fine, even though I soaked it for basically 2 weeks. although this one bubbles from the middle. I don't know if that's going to make it fall apart faster, but so far it has no problems, no trouble. So let's talk about this green wax crayon type compound. In some of my stropping videos, I mentioned this compound, and now that I have this set of stones, and my main selling point for these stones was the price at $20 to $25, and the fact that it came with a large flattening stone, which I think is important, and I think that's a good value. So that alone made it worth it to me to purchase this set. When I opened this and saw how large this was, I couldn't believe it. This is huge. A normal size set of compound that you usually get is like this big. And you can see these are a quarter of the size of this giant piece of compound. So I was curious to know if this actually works. So I've been trying it out for the last several weeks. The first way I tried it out was on the crappy strop it came with, this thing, which didn't work at all. No surprise, I've never gotten those to work. Then I tried applying this to a piece of wood, and I did this. I had never used crayon wax type compound on wood before. I have used it many times on leather strops, but I wanted to try this out. So I applied it to this block of wood without dressing the wood first, and I think the wood was too bumpy. So I had to use an awful lot of the compound, and this made it really waxy, and it never worked. So I sanded that down, which left a little bit of residue in the deeper little cracks and crevices. It left a little residue, and I rubbed a little bit more on and used it, and it still didn't really work very well. So I have since sanded this down even some more and applied very, very light amount. And now I think it is working somewhat. If you want to use this on wood, I would make sure your wood surface is somewhat smooth. Maybe 220 to 300 grit sandpaper should probably be fine. And I would apply a light coating of this on there and see how it works for you. I will say that my experience with this compound on this piece of wood is not great, and I would rate it at a 1 out of 5 in terms of its efficiency, in terms of its pleasantness, in terms of the results I'm getting. They're not great, but it does work. So on this other side, I happen to have some pink 8000 grit crayon, this one. This came with a strop, Anchor stone strops. I have several of these things. So I use this red crayon compound on this side, same piece of wood, and Anger Stone claims this is 8000 grit. I have no idea what grit this is. This works much better. So I don't know if it's just the quality of the compound. I don't know if it's the specific grit. I don't know if there's something about this side of wood that maybe is better for this particular task. But this side with the red compound, I would give a 3 out of 5. This works quite well. So this red stuff for me has worked better than the Tonahutu stuff on wood. By the way, I reached out to Tonahutu and asked them what the grit is on this. They don't know. When I reached out to them about the grit, I described it as a large piece of compound. She asked for a picture because she said their kit comes with a small piece of compound. I don't know if that means she thinks it's smaller than the stones, or if this means that somehow I got lucky and got a large piece and everybody else is going to get a more normal size, small piece. So since using this for several weeks, I purchased another Anger stone strop just specifically to try out this compound. I had, like I said, used these Anger stone strops before. I liked it, so I thought I would give this a shot with this compound. So I have loaded this compound on both the rough side and the smooth side of this strop. It's only this compound. And you can see this compound has a tiny little groove here on this side and a somewhat significant groove on this corner. That's all I've used. This part just broke off. This thing has a lot of life still in it. On this Angerstone leather strop, This Tonahutu compound does work on both sides, the rough side and the smooth side. I like the feel, I like the feedback. I feel like the compound works to refine my knife sharpness when I come off many different kinds of stones, not just these ones, but many different kinds of stones. This does work. If you already have this set or you're thinking about buying it, I would get a real strop. Throw away the crappy leather belt and buy a regular strop off Amazon by Sharpal or Enger Stone. These are $15. The Sharpal ones are usually 17 to 20. They're both fine. And with either one, you'll be able to use this compound and it will actually work, I believe. I would be surprised if you can't get this to work on a most basic sense, at least. With most normal type steels, I think you'll be fine. So that's the update I have about this set. I'm still perfectly happy with mine. I've had no problems. I do still recommend you get coarse diamonds for rough reprofiling. I believe this set would be good for a person learning to freehand sharpen that just wants to practice getting their angle. I also believe this set would be good for somebody who just wants to have some stones to use as a general coarse to medium grit stage in their progression. These stones do work for that. None of these stones are accurately graded. This is not a 3,000 grit. This is not an 8,000 grit. I don't think any of these grits are more than 1,000. So any of these stones do work for a coarse to medium stage part of your sharpening. This set would also work for a person who just wants a basic set of sharpening gear. I do think you need a diamond plate for major reprofiling, rough work, and then this for the main sharpening, and then a real strop, because these do not leave a good edge without a strop. You have to have a strop. If this is the final stage you're going to go with, you need a real strop to get your edge dialed into where it'll really cut and, in my opinion, even start to shave arm hair. So my set's working fine. I have no problem with it. I've soaked these for a long time with no issues. This stropping compound is working great as long as I have it on a leather strop. It works better on leather than it does on wood. That's what I have for you. If you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, let me know. I appreciate your views and your input, and thanks for watching.